What is up, everyone? Welcome to Panfro Games, and today we're doing the Masters Solo Queue tier list for Pokemon Unite Blissey patch. And guys, I've been doing a lot of Pokemon Unite recently in Solo Queue exclusively, and I feel pretty confident in this Blissey patch of what the meta currently is and what's good and what won't work going forward. And before we dive deeper, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Check out my other Pokemon Unite videos as well. So diving into this, we currently at this moment have 22 Pokemon in the game, and we will be seeing a couple more in the future. We'll see Blastoise in about a week, and then we're going to be seeing Sylveon and Mamoswine. So this meta is ever evolving, and whenever a character does come out, we do get new patch notes. So we're going to start off with this tier list being S, A, B, C, and D, and not released. S is going to be the top of our tier list, absolutely the best, and potentially even broken in my opinion. A is very strong and very balanced and very good, not broken in my opinion. B is like a little bit above average. D is very average. D is pretty bad overall. So we're going to make this very easy, and we're going to start with the best character in the game, in my opinion, and we're going to go with Greninja. As Greninja is the best ADC in the game, attack damage carry. He does so much damage from a range, and then when he gets in close, he can execute you with his third auto attack, has a built-in execute. Even from a distance, it does tons of damage, it slows you down. And then Surf is crazy as it gives him more HP back. It gets its cooldown back if you get a kill with it. So this is like the pentakill champion. Greninja's is pretty crazy, and he's just one of those champions where even though with the nerf to Smokescreen, it didn't really affect his play at all. He still picks Smokescreen just because invisibility is pretty crazy, and the blind that you cast on the enemy is pretty awesome as well. So Greninja says it can literally do everything. It is also the best jungler in the game. This Pokemon and Cinderace, in my opinion, completely took out speedsters from the entire meta right now, and you're not going to really be seeing any speedsters in the meta because of this Pokemon. So I do think Greninja does need a rework, bit of a nerf on some of his abilities. They also buffed Water Shuriken for some unknown reason, so that build got a lot more viable, which is really funny. It didn't really need it. Honestly, it didn't really need it. It was already as good as it was. And yeah, they also buffed Double Team, which is pretty crazy as well, which you're still not going to pick because Smokescreen is just too good still. So going into Blissey, our very brand new supporter, I'm going to put right into A tier. Blissey has a lot going for it in its kit. This is a Pokemon that has a lot of great utility when it can heal. It's the second healing support in the game, so that's already incredibly valuable. And this Pokemon not only heals, but can also increase your basic attack speed with Helping Hand, which also gives you a guaranteed third auto attack while you're buffed by it. And this Pokemon also has the ability to remove any crowd control as well. And it's just crazy, and I do think Egg Bomb is the weakest move on a set, but it's also a pretty good like knockout move too, so like lots of viability. Unite move is pretty great as well, and it's just a good Pokemon. I mean, even in solo queue, I do recommend picking this as a support because you just feel really helpful. It's sort of like a really defensive Alola Ninetales. It's sort of the exact opposite in that case, where you have the heals and you do, like, if you compare Alola Ninetales with Aurora Veil versus Helping Hand, that's where the similarities are, but Alola Ninetales does get the stun and the damage, while Blissey instead is much more defensive and has the healing support. And a pretty solid Unite move in my opinion too, so I think this is a very well-balanced Pokemon in the game. I don't think it's too broken. It's a Pokemon that does need to, like, play its role as a support if you can't just solo carry with it, but I think it's a really good Pokemon for where it is in the meta right now. So going into our first defender, I'm going to put Slowbro into B tier. So Slowbro just got hit with a pretty big nerf onto Surf, as the knockup is not as crazy as anymore. They reduced the Surf by about 50%. So yeah, it's sort of unfortunate, and Telekinesis is still not the most accurate move in the game. And honestly, they sort of try to kill this Pokemon in my opinion, but because there's only 3 real defenders in the game, and he's not the worst defender in the game, I'm going to put out B tier. I think he's pretty solid. You can definitely play him. The buffs to Scald was nice, but you're going to use him for Surf like 9 out of 10 times. So it sucks that what made this Pokemon really special, in my opinion, got nerfed. And it wasn't really warranted because Snorlax is just the better defender as well. So Snorlax got nerfed. However, he's still S tier. His nerfs were very minor. His damage reduction to Heavy Slam was very minor, and he's still really good at sniping. And in solo queue, this is one of those Pokemon where if you pick Snorlax, you can win the game. Even if the defender you're not doing tons of damage, you can definitely win the game with him, which is really incredible. This Pokemon, like I said, has the sniping ability, Heavy Slam, the great knockups. Even though they nerfed its ult a little bit, still 75% healing is incredible if it has a second life, which lets you just do more knockups. And block is still probably the best move in the game, as it's the most unique move. And yet they nerfed the knockback from it, but still really good. Now it's just more fair, but it's still such a unique move that if you combine it with X speed as well, which is not fixed, so I don't think is a glitch at this point because I definitely know about it, it just make you an absolute monster. So yeah, Snorlax stays in S tier as the second best on this list right now. Crustle goes to C tier. So they did buff Crustle Stealth Rocks in Rock Tomb. However, I just don't see Crustle really being a good defender. It's sort of a weird position where a lot of Crustle players will try to make this Pokemon work by being like a bruiser. But at the end of the day, like, it just doesn't work out too well. Like, yeah, you can backdoor with this Pokemon and get some nice points in. But compared to Slowbro and Snorlax, you don't really have any good methods of crowd control. Stealth Rocks is an interesting move, even with the buff. However, it's not too great overall. It's just, I feel like if Stealth Rocks had a slow on level 1, it'd be a lot better, and probably moved Crustle to B tier. But currently, right now, I think the wall isn't the most consistent way to trap people. It's a very hard move to use, and there's so many dashes and blinks in the game right now, where it's not the most viable Pokemon, honestly. And then going to Wigglytuff, we're going to put Wiggly also in S tier. So it's funny how Wiggly is labeled green, even though it's a support. However, this is a correct labeling because it is also a defender. And I'm actually going to put Wiggly ahead of Snorlax here, as Wiggly is insane. I think it is the second best Pokemon in the game right now. This Pokemon is as bulky, if not more, it is as bulky as Snorlax, and even more specially defensive bulky than Snorlax. This Pokemon has tons of CC and also does a lot of damage. Sting is pretty crazy. Sting is just a crazy move. You just walk into a team fight and bam, the whole team's asleep, and the sleep's a long sleep. So you got to watch out for that. Roll out, sort of hard to use move, but if you're good with it, it's incredible, and you can set up some amazing plays with it. Double Slap's all right, but like, it just has so much going on. And the big thing about Wigglytuff is Cute Charm is such a crazy ability that it actually can counter someone like Greninja if they get up close, and it really can just win team fights. Its ability is sort of nutty overall, and the damage output is pretty good too. In that Dazzling Gleam, having a stun and having a sleep, just pure CC monster, can survive in fights and has a really good ult. So Wiggly right now, I think the buffs to his defense and special defense to make it on the same level as Snorlax, but constant CC pressure is pretty crazy in my opinion. And it didn't get nerfed. So if it gets nerfed, I think Snorlax would go ahead of it. But for now, with the only buffs to Wiggly, we're going to have to put in S tier at second place. So Eldegoss is our other support here, and I'm going to put it with Blissey. I actually think they're tied for an A, so I wouldn't put one or the other above each other. Eldegoss, just great heals overall, providing shields. Just really good Pokemon, and you can use this in solo queue pretty well. Great for supporting like an attack damage carry like a Greninja. Very similar to Blissey, honestly. And ultimates that can win team fights. The fact that you can heal your entire team and do damage to the other team is pretty incredible. That you can cast shields onto your teammates, which really goes well with something like Score Shield. So if you're trying to help like your partners out who have Score Shield on, they're pretty much always going to make it through the score. And that's like how you win these games, honestly. It's just like those last second scores. Nice little shield will definitely change it all up. We're going to put Mr. Mime in B tier. Mr. Mime's, I see like there's a lot of good highlights in Mr. Mime. The issue with this Pokemon is, in my opinion, he's pretty team comp dependent. And he's definitely a Pokemon that wants to actually block for even more wall opportunities. But if Mr. Mime is in lane against a Pokemon that has any sort of dash, the wall doesn't really matter, and you're not going to get that bonus damage. And he's also hard to use. I just think when you're playing Mr. Mime, you're sort of playing him in a more hyper attacking mode, similar to like a Crustle issue. where you're trying to make a Pokemon do something that he isn't supposed to be doing. I just do think Mr. Mime does that better than Crustle. However, I feel like you should just be playing a different Pokemon at that point. I do think if you're really good at Mr. Mime, yeah, you can keep going with it. But I just don't think it's worth the time and effort for the results you're going to get. And here's Pikachu. I'm going to put Pikachu as C tier. Looking at the list, I'm actually going to say he is the worst ranged attacker. He's very easy to use, which is great for beginners. The issue with this Pokemon is you're just not going to make a big difference with this Pokemon when you hit the late game, and you sort of are just another character on the board. Your ultimate's not too sticky. You do pretty solid damage, especially with Electro Ball, but like that's your best move for sure. If this Pokemon didn't have Electro Ball, he would be in trash tier in my opinion. But he's like overall like he's okay, but I would just recommend every other attacker in the game over him. So we're going to put Cinderace at top of A tier. This used to be the king, but they did nerf him super hard. They reduced all his attack damage. They buffed Pyro Ball, but didn't really do anything for him positively. You're going to still run the same moveset. Just really good. He's just a worse Greninja. At the end of the day, Greninja is a paragraph champion. Just has so many different things to his, like, the fact that he has 2 different boosted auto attacks is crazy, and Greninja just has so many viable movesets, and Surf just has 3 different things going for that one move. And Cinderace is very like, yeah, I'm very basic, I'm very easy to use, you keep me at range, I'm just going to kill him with auto attacks, and then I can just use Feint to dodge, which is pretty good, but they did nerf Feint, so the dodging is a little bit harder. Really great ultimate. It's just, he's the second best jungler in the game right now. It's just Greninja is just better, but definitely feel like if you don't have Greninja, or if the Greninja is in a different lane, or your team didn't pick Greninja, then feel like going for Cinderace in the jungle. That's a very viable and a very good strat, as he's very strong. Alright, so we got Gardevoir here, and I'm going to put Gardevoir at the bottom A tier. I think this Pokemon's really good. The issue of Gardevoir is you have to get to level 10, but when you are Kirlia, you do get a huge buff with Side Shock, and I think Side Shock's a pretty crazy move. Great for defending goals, great for just putting on pressure as well. And if you're good at aiming that, I think you can really climb the ladder with this Pokemon. You are a bit frail, but I will say this, the reason why I have this Pokemon A tier is because this ultimate is game winning. This is a pentakill ultimate. This is a Zapdos stealing ultimate. It is just so incredibly strong. So I think the pros outweigh the cons in this case. And especially because this is an attacker meta. Doing damage is what you want to do in this game right now, especially in solo queue, because the comms aren't great in this game. So I think if you can go either top or bottom lane and farm well, then you can do really well with this Pokemon, especially if you get 1 Dreadnought and you're good to go. Also, like, great for capturing Dreadnoughts. Cramorant, I'm going to put into B tier. I think this Pokemon has some interesting things going for it, but the issue with Cram right now is I think Greninja, Cinderace, and Gardevoir are just better versions of this Pokemon. And I think you're just doing... I think it's easier to win with Greninja, Cinderace, and Gardevoir than Cramorant. I think the two most notable things about Cramorant is the beginning. The early game phase is really good because of Whirlpool. And then your ultimate is incredibly strong. It's crazy how much damage that can do, and it can win games for sure. I will definitely respect that. Can definitely capture objectives, but it is like, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't do enough damage. It doesn't have as crazy bursts as these other Pokemon do, and I just feel like even with like the buffs and the slight nerfs to Cramorant, I think he's good. Like, B is a good tier to be in. It's not like you're a bad Pokemon, but he just doesn't as good as the other attack Pokemon. So, guys, I definitely was talking shit about Venusaur before, and it's pretty funny how I had Venusaur pretty low. I'm going to put Venusaur at the top of B tier. So, yeah, Venusaur is definitely not the worst attacker. That's pretty crazy in my opinion. I'm really grew to respect Venusaur. This Pokemon has the most unique sniping ability, and I think that ability alone puts him in B tier. Solar Beam is crazy. Sludge Bomb constant damage is pretty crazy. The movement is not great on this Pokemon. Laning with this Pokemon isn't the best unless you have a good lane partner. But you are incredibly strong. You do have some good matchups. The issue is if you face a Pokemon that can get in and get to you, you're pretty much done. But if you're a skilled enough player and keep them at bay, or if you use Venusaur as a ranged sniper, you're going to see a fabulous results. He's just not easy to play. And I think he does have some issue when he is Bulbasaur and Ivysaur. Similar to Gardevoir. But that Solar Beam just makes his character so good. And I honestly may move him to low A tier. But I think right now we're going to keep him high B. And I want to see what they do with buffs to this Pokemon. But right now, I think you can with him in solo queue. But it is a bit tougher. But I think it's very valuable. I think there's a lot of value. And I think Venusaur is someone we need to pay attention to in the patches going forward. Just because I think a lot of good things can happen with him. So we got a Alolan Ninetales, who's another support. And I'm going to put Alolan Ninetales here. I think Alolan Ninetales is really good. I think Blissey being in the game has definitely hurt Alolan Ninetales. Just because Alolan Ninetales it was super unique because of Aurora Veil, but now Blissey does that, and Blissey does not die as easily as Ninetales. Yes, Ninetales does more damage, has a really good ult. This Pokemon did not get really nerfed hard. I mean, pretty much didn't. It just had a bug fix with its passive, which did slightly hurt it, but not enough on this tier list. I still love this Pokemon. It's still one of the main Pokemon I use in my that I play in ranked. So I feel like I have a pretty good confidence on speaking about this Pokemon. And Ninetales he does great damage, but you want to go Dazzling Gleam, you always want to go Aurora Veil, and you're just an attack damage support at the end of the day, which is great. I mean, I think the supports in this game are all really good. I mean, clearly, we got 1 in S and 3 in, I'm going to include Ninetales in this, and 3 in A. So, and then, of course, Mr. Mime B. But I feel like Ninetales, it's sort of tied of Eldegoss and Blissey. It's like, do you want the healing support? Do you want the shield support? I guess Blissey is sort of a combination of both Ninetales and Eldegoss in a weird way. Even though Ninetales is an attacker, but I still count as a support. I don't know. It's very interesting. I feel like these 3 supports you just want to pick which one you like in sort of main. But I think everyone should have a pocket with stuff because it's just so good. But yeah, Alolan Ninetales can definitely win games for you. It's incredible. And just having a stun and having a movement speed increase and having a basic attack speed increase with Aurora Veil, it's awesome. Just completely awesome. And great for capturing objectives like Dreadnought and Zapdos. All right, so Gengar, I'm going to straight up put Gengar. So this is solo queue meta. Straight up, guys. You got to remember, this is solo queue meta. As you said, I said this earlier, junglers are dead. Unfortunately, speedsters died. Greninja, Cinderace killed a lot of these guys. And the nerfs to Gengar were devastating, in my opinion. He was not the easiest champion to use. Blissey just being a great support, especially can remove status effects. Just so good, and it really puts Gengar in C tier. This Pokemon is alright now. It's so okay. Its laning is terrible. Its jungle clear isn't fast enough. Its ganks are solid, but you're just not as devastating as Greninja or Cinderace. And even then, you can do some solid damage, but it's just not as crazy as before. And you're not you have to go up and hit the opponent too, and you're so squishy. This game is about CC, especially any Pokemon that has CC is good to me, like hard CC, like a knock-up or a sleep, because that can remove your Ignite move, and that can happen to Gengar pretty easily. And once Gengar gets CC'd, he's destroyed because he has no HP. So I gotta put him C tier. He's all right. I mean, you can definitely win games with him, but I just don't see why you would do it in rank solo queue and master. And Talonflame, I'm going to also put in C tier. I'm gonna put him in C. Same thing about Gengar applies to Talonflame, where he's just very frail. Yeah, he's fast, but his jungle's just not good enough compared to Greninja and Cinderace. And I mean, he just doesn't do a lot of damage, honestly. He's just not too crazy of a Pokemon. His laning is all right. It's not as bad as Gengar's, but I feel like Talonflame definitely falls off in the late game, while Gengar has a much better late game, especially with his ult. And yeah, Talonflame I just don't see why you would use this Pokemon just like that. So Absol, I'm actually going to put in B tier right under B4. I think Absol is the best speedster in the game right now. I think he's very solid. Like I said, the issue with jungle is Greninja and Cinderace, but Absol is pretty crazy. Just the best character at 1v1ing in the jungle. No one can beat Absol in the jungle in a 1v1 duel. So he makes them very great at stealing the opponent's jungle and being a denier. Has incredible ganks overall throughout the game. Doesn't rely on evolution to have its attack damage. And lucky like crits with its ability is so good in scope lens. So if you get a lot of crits, it's pretty crazy. Great for taking objectives overall. Just really frail. You really rely on your abilities. If you get caught with 1 CC, you're pretty much done. I do like the ult a lot on this Pokemon though. I think it's pretty good for team fights. But yeah, I think something needs to happen to speedsters for them to be more competitive in the game right now. There's definitely a problem with jungle. And Zeraora, I am going to put in high ET. Honestly, Zeraora is so he can be really good in low tier, but the issue is in Masters is Zeraora is such a I am a Pokemon, I have buttons, I do a lot of damage, but if I get hit by any sort of crowd control, I'm immediately dead. That's the Pokemon. And this whole game is crowd control right now. It's just attackers. It's like super fast assassins and like Pokemon to have like knockups and stuns. And I don't think Zeraora has enough tricks. Zeraora to like survive this. Like, yeah, Volt Switch is your best trick, but you have to use it before engaging into the fight, and then you Volt Switch back out. Or, I mean, you could dash out with Volt Switch as well, but I think what he provides as a melee champ isn't as good as someone like Greninja and Cinderace, are both physical champs, but they're ranged. And yeah, they don't do as much damage, but they are better at securing kills and surviving. And yeah, Zeraora's ult did get nerfed, and I definitely do feel those effects. I just don't think there's anything special about this Pokemon right now, and I do think it's a problem. And like I said, I think they got to rework a bit. I'm actually gonna do want to fix this. Yeah, I'm gonna put Pikachu above Frost. These are all sort of very similar. And now finally, the all-arounders. Charizard, I'm going to be moving into. I think Charizard is. I think it's B tier. I think this Pokemon is very similar problems to Venusaur, where you need to hit level 9 to be really effective. But I feel like at least Bulbasaur and Ivysaur have a little bit more. I feel like what they do is much more unique than Charizard. So I feel like I put Venusaur a little bit higher because there is more of a niche there. Charizard, he's good. He's definitely not a bad Pokemon. And I think his ultimate's incredible. I will say that. His ultimate is really incredible. Another thing that's similar to Venusaur is like they both have incredible ults. But I think getting to that end game is really hard. And I feel like with Charizard, there's just better all-arounders. You know, he could definitely be buffed in the early game. I feel like Charmander is not a threat at all. Same with Charmeleon. I just don't feel as much of a threat. I feel like at least with Venusaur, when it's an Ivysaur, I feel a lot more threatened, especially when it has Solar Beam. And with Charizard, I just don't have that feeling until he's actually a Charizard. It's similar to the Garchomp problem, but at least you do more damage in those early stages than Garchomp does. Lucario is bottom of S tier. This is the best all-arounder in the game. It's crazy. The amount of... This Pokemon has dashes on dashes. This Pokemon has the best smite in the game, the best way to steal objectives. This Pokemon can provide a shield for itself. And it's crazy because Score Shield combines with its own personal shield. It's passive, and it's just crazy stuff. Downsides of Lucario, the ult, not great, but it does give it a shield, but it's just not great. Honestly, it's the weakest part. I mean, it does good damage, but you got to hit it, and you're really only going to hit it if you do it into a team fight and you're not paying attention. But this Pokemon has tons of escapes. It's just such a good Pokemon, man. This is like... I do think this Pokemon needs a nerf. The only reason why it's not higher is because Pokemon like Wigglytuff and Snorlax have insane CC, especially Wigglytuff's Cute Charm, because Lucario is a melee attacker, so Cute Charm is a hard counter to it. So that's why I have Wigglytuff above Lucario. Machamp is bottom of A tier. I think this all-arounder is really good. The nerfs to Cross Chop definitely hurt it. It would have just been a bit higher on A tier. Submission is crazy. I am terrified of Machoke. So the good thing about Machamp versus Charizard is Machamp is scary at Machoke, while Charizard is not scary at Charmander. Machoke is actually like has pretty solid ganks as a jungler. Obviously not as good as Cinderace or Greninja, but pretty solid overall. You can definitely win games with this Pokemon. It is the anti-CC Pokemon, so it can counter Wigglytuff and Snorlax. I just think the nerfs to Cross Chop and the buffs to supports overall have hurt this Pokemon, and it really needs a little bit of a boost. And it's in Machop early game laning is really bad, honestly. So you really got to hit Machoke to be a real Pokemon. And last but not least is Garchomp, and I'm actually gonna put this in Garchomp here. That's our meme. Garchomp, I think, is honestly the worst Pokemon in the game right now. It is super weak until it's Garchomp. Like, straight up, Gible is the worst Pokemon in the game. Gabite is weaker than Ivysaur, weaker than Charmeleon. It is weaker than any second evolution in the entire game by far. This Pokemon is only redeemable point. Its ultimate is pretty crazy in damage, even with the buffs to Garchomp, which I don't know why they increased the movement speed. Like, sure, that's a good buff, like, sure. But they needed more to the Gible and to the Gabite stages. It has the same problem as Gardevoir does, but Gardevoir's payoff is way better. And also Curlia is really good because of Psyshock. And Garchomp just doesn't have that. And the issue in Pokemon Unite is, yes, I know Zapdos is how you win games a lot of the times, but in order to win a Zapdos fight or defend Zapdos, you need to be getting these objectives at Dreadnought. And the issue is Garchomp is just a constant 4v5 situation until you actually evolve into Garchomp. Gible is if you have a Gible on your team, it's 4v5. If you have a Gabite, it's a 4v5. It's just the honest hard facts about that. And yeah, that's overall the current meta in my opinion. So overall, the game does have a problem with junglers right now. They need to do something with speedsters to buff them. They should not be this low. I do think we should see a couple of buffs going forward. I do want to see a slight Venusaur, Charizard. I want to see Slowbro buffed. They need to do something Garchomp as well. And I think we should see some nerfs with Greninja, Wigglytuff, Snorlax, Lucario. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun in solo queue. I know it can be frustrating, guys, but keep your heads up and you can reach master rank in solo queue. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, guys, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys next time with more Pokemon Unite action. Have a